Okay, so I have something pretty funny that I'd like to try here. I just recently took the training wheels off my son's bike, and they seem to be a nice, pretty thick U-channel. So what I'm gonna do is cut this up, and I'm gonna weld it onto the frame like that, and that's gonna be the bottom mount for the foot pegs. So here's my setup for tapping the holes in these foot pegs. So I'm gonna be drilling and tapping 3 holes in these foot pegs. This one was originally tapped with a metric hole, and these don't have any at all. So I'm gonna mount it in the vise here, like that. You don't have to go crazy, just get it as straight as you can. I have a 17/64 drill bit mounted in here, And then I'm going to be tapping a 5/16/18 thread. Actually going to reverse this so I could use the little holes out of here for the cleats that get screwed around the peg. I'm going to use that to center my drill bit. Okay, so I have my holes drilled. Now I'm going to switch over to my drill press I have set up with the tapping head. As you can see, I just made up a bar here with a few T-handles so I could tighten it down. I basically slide the foot peg underneath. Try to get it centered as best you can before you run the tap down, like that, and then screw down 2 T-handles. Squirt a little oil on the tap. Like I said, there's a 5/16/18 tap. There we go. Okay, that's one. I'm gonna slide it forward, center the tap, tighten down, same drill as before, a little oil. Okay, second one done. I'm gonna spin it around for this one. Same drill, center the tap, screw down the T-handles. The tap head floats, guys, so it's not super critical that this is centered. It just has to be close. A little oil. Hopefully you could see, I have 3 perfect threads. We can clean it up a little bit, and then we'll see how the little 5/16/18 bolts thread into it. All right, next up is kickstart lever. As you can see, the one I have is pretty long. I might end up having to cut the fender and or shorten the lever. I'm gonna try to shorten it now. I marked it out 1.5 inches. I'll cut it, grind this side to a point, and then re-weld it to the knuckle down on the bottom. So I got the front end broken down, and the next step is going to be making a heim joint front end and building an upper A-arm. And I think it's going to be similar to like a trophy truck with like a front A-arm coming around like this, and then the heim joints down at the bottom, and I'll be adapting the hydraulic front brakes as well. So I'm going to be making another one of these little bushings, which is threaded with a 3/8 16 thread, using this tap holder and a 4-flute tap, which technically isn't so great for starting a new thread, but this is a snap-on tap, which was actually my dad's. It's probably about 50 years old, and these are by So I got my threaded bungs welded on, my heim joints mounted for now. I got my temporary spindle in place, and I'm going to be building sort of like a mini trophy truck upper A-arm. So I have some 3/4 065 tubing here, and I bent both ends for now at 45 degrees out. And what I did was I used this magnet that I had that's pretty pliable, and I roughly got the angles I need, and then I kind of transferred it to my piece of tubing. So I'm gonna try to get this all tacked together, and then I'll show you guys how I bent this tubing. I think it's pretty cool and pretty cheap, and it makes beautiful bends. At least up to 45 degrees. Not sure how much farther I could go, but so far so good.
And when you dance, I'm in the group. You make me
Okay, moving on to the front hydraulic brakes. I got these off eBay. It's basically 2 hydraulic calipers, as you can see. Steel braided brake lines, a distribution, I would say valve, but it's really just a 3-way splitter, and a front handbrake with parking brake built in, so that's pretty cool. Okay, now my problem here is that my caliper just about fits around the rotor, has a tiny little bit of airspace in there, which might be okay, or I might just space the rotor out a little bit. That's why I haven't welded the spindle onto the knuckle yet, the steering knuckle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these Allen bolts, which I have here, and found out what size it is. So basically I'm using the worst tap and die set ever made. Some Chinese brand, someone gave it to me a long time ago. But the reason I don't throw it out, the tooling is pretty much useless. So all of these holders are just about, garbage. You really can't hold anything with them. But for cleaning out a thread, they might be okay. The funny part is that the way that they burned or etched on the sides onto the taps is almost illegible at this point. So it's getting hard to even use it for what I'm trying to use it for, but I could basically, take this, check the threads, or I could hunt around for the die. It's M6 1.0, and then I could take the tap and I could run it down, into the threads. And then what I'll do is I'll just order these with a button head as opposed to a traditional Allen head, so I'll have the room to clear the caliper.
All inside of you, feel it to be true. And when you dance, I'm in the groove. You make me move, you make me move. You got it all inside of you.
All right, guys, so I'm gonna show you real quick what I had to make here. Made up a couple small 1/2-inch diameter spacers. Going to be placed like that, and then I'm going to mount the disc. I got new hardware, stainless steel, a little bit longer, and they're button head, so they're not going to drag on the caliper. And we're just going to screw this together like this.